your reputation precedes you. So here's a lovely image of a prostitute hard at work in an alleyway in Old Cottonopolis, clearly giving a lucky customer a hand job in the broad daylight. In a notable instance of perfect synchronization, this moment occurred at the exact time Google went by to capture the area. The prostitute even seems to be making eye contact with the car as it cruises past. But God forbid the sight of a moving vehicle might prevent her from finishing.
Number 9.
Nobody is entirely sure where this image was taken, but it doesn't look like it ended well for the guy driving around in the Google car photographing the area. So here we can see a man walking towards the camera clinging onto what appears to be a handgun, though at first glance this looks like a scene out of a gritty Eastern European drama. It's strange to think that this actually happened in real life at one point.
Number 8.
Well, that's kind of disturbing, isn't it? This overhead image, technically discovered on Google Earth, but too weird not to include, comes from just outside Sad City, and depicts what can only be described as a bloody lake of death. So what is this thing, then, aside from being the place where the world's murderers seem to be collectively stashing their victims?
Number 7.
Seriously. Jose Barra, a man from San Francisco, recently contacted Google when he discovered an image of what he believes to be his deceased 14-year-old son, who was shot and killed back in 2009. In the image, you can just make out what looks like a body, dressed in a white t-shirt and jeans, lying near a train track, surrounded by police officers. There's also a police car.
Number 6.
We're sorry that you actually have to see this, but we told you this list would be partly disgusting. Oh, we didn't? Okay, well, consider that to be fair warning. To be honest, this image from Madrid, Spain from the good year 2009, is rather self-explanatory. What sort of looks like a woman, but also looks sort of like a man, too. Obviously couldn't wait to get home to relieve themselves, and settled for squatting down behind a car in the street in, yes, broad daylight.
Number 5.
Gangs looking to advertise their presence to the world at large can't do much better than getting themselves on Google Maps, which is what happened when these Detroit-based gunslingers assembled on their porch when the car came a-calling. You can see here, then, that one of the people in the photo is pointing what appears to be a semi-automatic weapon at the ground.
Number 4.
This might only be shocking at first glance, but you have to admit there's something incredibly spooky about all these mannequins being thrown away like that. This looks like a screenshot from the latest Silent Hill game, after all. We're not debating the fact that these mannequins shouldn't have been done away with, of course. They're creepy as hell, but the person responsible should have been a bit more careful about trying not to terrify the living heck out of all the unlucky people who presumably walked by and had an involuntary bowel movement upon spotting these monsters.
Number 3.
What comes to mind when you look at the above image? Let us read your thoughts. You're imagining a scenario in which two guys, probably mafia-aligned, are about to throw a dead body into a lake, right? I mean, sure, we probably implanted that scenario in your head with that Godfather reference in the title, but still. That's almost definitely what's going on here, don't you think?
Number 2.
Although this looks like it might have been whipped up on Photoshop or something, the image you're seeing there is actually real, as in, it's viewable on Google Maps. But it has to be a joke, right? A wreckage of an actual plane crash, caught on Google Maps. There's got to be a reason why we didn't hear about it.
Number 1.
Arguably the most shocking image on this list, then, is this one, which shows us a baby outside of a Gucci shop in some random corner of the world, seemingly abandoned and flying solo. This is one of those fill-in-the-gaps scenarios where you try to conjure up a plausible story in your head as to why this infant has been left alone in the middle of nowhere, and so close to the roadside. Not to mention that there's a big patch of what we can only presume is that Spanish woman's urine from the earlier photo.